What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today's guest is Rodman Schley. Rodman is an entrepreneur of many, many businesses. He talks about he had 13 businesses at one time, all at once, and he's bought and sold many more. He's also an author. He has a book coming out pretty soon. He has a podcast. He's doing a number of very interesting and very important things. One of the things that we talk about a lot in this episode is the importance of getting started as soon as possible, because our lives are literally a blip of time that goes by at the snap of the finger. So do not let yourself live with regret. You will hear that word, regret, numerous times throughout the course of this podcast. Make sure that you grab yourself a pen and paper. Get yourself a pen and paper. Also, quick reminder, hit pause real quick and go and review the podcast. If you have not listened and this is your first time listening, I don't care. You can go ahead and give it 5 stars. I'll review it for you. But go review real quick and then come back and get it started. Get your pen and paper. Like I said, we talk about regret. We talk about getting started very soon, sooner than later. And we talk about his pillars that it takes to be able to live a purposeful life. So enjoy this conversation with Rodman Schley. Rodman, good day, my friend. Good day. The first thing that I saw whenever your screen popped up was a line of trophies sitting behind you. So what is your line of trophies?
Yeah, those are for our television show. We've got a national television show on PBS called Urban Conversion about sustainability in urban areas. And
Wow.
so, yeah, we had some pretty good seasons. We're actually not recording. We stopped recording during COVID,
Hmm.
but our episodes and our seasons live on. So that was
Clearly.
3 seasons of television.
That's super cool. Considering it's only 3 seasons, it looks like you have about 35 trophies. No, I'm just kidding. But there's a lot of trophies back there. That's well done with that. That's
Yeah,
that.
thanks.
How'd you guys get into that?
Oh, midlife crisis. One of those things where it's like, I got to a point in life, I had about 13 companies going at once, way too many.
Wow.
Got to a point where I was
I got a headache
somewhat
just thinking about that.
overwhelmed, melting
Hmm.
down a little bit. And I needed creative outlets. So I started getting rid of some of those companies. We started a television show. And then the next thing you know, here we were filming at the White House. We got picked up nationally, and not one of those things you didn't get up one morning and say, man, I want to be on TV. I want to do this. It just kind of happened and the universe put it in there and we went with it.
That's super cool. That's super
Yeah.
cool. Well, a nice little backstory, but that was cool. That's the first thing that caught my attention. So speaking of outlets, it seems like you are a physical health kind of person. It seems like you take care of your physical fitness just from a couple of posts that I caught up on in your Instagram, talking about the importance of taking care of your physical health to entrepreneurs, obviously to the world. That's an important thing to do. I'm curious, what experience in life caused you to do that? And I ask it that way specifically because for most people, they don't take their physical health seriously until something happens, right?
Right.
I was lucky enough that I've been in the weight room for over 25 years. I started at 13 and I just basically didn't get out. And it was part of my life. And I owned a fitness studio for 10 years. So I was lucky enough. Actually, when I owned the fitness studio is when my fitness probably was the worst in my adult life. But you probably understand that being a business owner yourself. So I'm curious, what was the experience? Was there experience that caused the importance that you said you have to make sure that you prioritize your health and fitness, or was it has it just been part of your life?
No, it's been a part of my life. It's one of those things where when you're an entrepreneur, and those entrepreneurs that are out there, when you're going through what you're going through, it's a grind.
Hmm.
You really got to hustle. You really got to be on top of your game. You got to be fit. You got to be at the top level of what you're doing, and everything you do from when you're getting up in the morning to when you're going to bed at night. If your body is not set up to physically sustain yourself, you're setting yourself up to fail, because so many things, there's so many stresses, there's so many grinds, there's so many different things that you've got to be doing on a daily basis, that if you're not physically up for the task, you're going to really impact your results.
Hmm.
And you don't want to put yourself in that position. I always tell people that there's really 5 pillars when you're an entrepreneur that you look at. And the first thing is you got to have purpose. You got to figure out what your purpose is, right? If you don't know what your purpose is in life, then you're not setting yourself up to succeed. But then the next thing I tell people is that you got to get your mindset right, right? You got to make sure that you know what you want, how you want to do it. You got to get in that positive mentality because it's a lot of work. There's a lot to do. There's so many hours in a day. You got to put yourself in the mindset. But right after that, that's when I talk about being physically fit or being physically ready for the challenge. Because I mean, your body is everything. What you do with your body is the temple. If you treat it poorly, how are you going to reflect that in life other than poorly? So you got to make sure that physically you're up for the challenge. The next thing is you got to have your finances right. You got to have your money right. Because so many people jump into entrepreneurship and think, well, I'm just going to put a shingle out and I'm going to make millions. And it just doesn't work that way, right? It's a
No
grind.
doubt.
It takes a little bit to do. It takes a little bit of work and it takes a while to succeed. So you got to make sure that you are have the money to persevere through the winter.
Mhm.
And then you can build that life by design. Then you can build the life that you want to be living. But I always put money last. I always put building that life by design at the very end. Because if you don't have those three fundamentals, if you don't have your mindset, if you're not physically up for it, and then have your finances right, you're setting yourself up to lose. You're setting yourself up to fail.
You know, there's so much truth to that. And what's interesting is that so many people look at the development of the mind, the development of the body as selfish avenues because it takes time to do that stuff, right? To develop
Mm.
your mind, if you want to do it on purpose, it takes time to do it. Whether you're reading, whether you're meditating, whether you're reflecting and just sitting and thinking, like all that stuff takes time and it takes time typically away from people. When it comes to your physical fitness, in one of your videos, you're talking about training for 2 hours in the morning. Like it takes time. It takes time away from people. But I think what people miss in that belief is that the time that you're also taking away from people by not being your best self and not being fully aware and present in the moment. And your lack of energy is causing you to be not present in the moment. And your inability to sustain yourself throughout the day is causing you to not be present in the moment. And I think that that's what a lot of people miss. So, how do you start to nudge somebody to understand the importance of training your mindset and training your physical body?
Well, number one, how are you going to be the best version of yourself for others if you can't be the best version of yourself for
Mm.
yourself, right? If you can't get up and you can't have your mind right, if you can't have your physical fitness right, if your money's all out of whack, how can you show up for others as the best version of yourself? And so people need to change that narrative to say, you know what? This is not a selfish thing. Yes, I'm going to get up and I'm going to take care of myself because I need to be the best version of myself for this journey. But at the same time, I'm going to go serve and I'm going to show other people the way, the path, the way to go forward. Right. And, when it comes to getting your mind right, and I mean, it all starts with you, right? It
Yep.
starts with how you talk to yourself. And when you get up in that morning, you can either start the self defeating narrative
Cycle.
immediately,
Hmm.
right? And that cycle so that immediately you start to go right downhill and you're not going to work out. You're not going to put away that money. And all day long, you're going to be beating yourself up, or you can make that change for yourself and say, you know what? Not today, right? I'm going to get up today and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take care of myself. And by doing so, I'm going to be really good at taking care of others.
There's so much truth to all of that. And the spiral does happen very early in the
Mm.
day for a lot of people. It happens. I would venture to say that it actually starts the night before because most people end their day poorly and therefore they start their day poorly. They go to bed late because they stayed up too late binge watching Netflix or just, whatever, scrolling on social media, so on and so forth. And so they sleep in later than they need to. They hit snooze 5 times, which is already the snooze button is already the crux of so many people and will already start to deteriorate your day because when you hit snooze, you're basically telling yourself that you're not prepared and not ready for the day. You're telling yourself that you don't have energy for the day. You're telling yourself that you don't want to get after the day. I'm curious, what got you to start training in the morning? And what other things do you do in the morning to kind of get yourself going?
Well, I like to train. So, and the morning's a great time to train if you can do it. It doesn't always work out that
Right.
way. For me, it's all about just kind of having that discipline though, and that understanding of what you're doing when it comes to your health. Number one, the way that AI is moving, they say that we're adding 3 to 4 months onto the end of our lives every single year that we're on this planet right now. And
Wow.
they say that that keeps getting more and more and more
Hmm.
with AI, the way things are progressing, the way that science is moving to cure disease and such. We're adding to our lives day by day. But the thing about it is you don't want to be 85 years old, 90 years old and not be good up here or not physically be
Hmm.
good and up for the challenge, right? It's all about quality of life. So quality of life when you're 85, when you're 90, when you're 95 starts right now. People don't think that. They think, well, I got time. I got time. I got time. But all of a sudden, you get to that point where you don't have time. You're setting yourself up to succeed and for longevity right now. Right.
Mm.
And for me, when I get up in the morning and I'm working out or I'm exercising or I'm doing what I want to do for myself, I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it for my wife. I'm doing
Mm.
it for my kids. I want to be sitting there at 85 years old, looking at my grandkids grow up or watching my children excel in life. I want to be there for that. And so I want to make sure that what I'm doing for myself physically, again, maybe a little bit selfish in this
Mm.
case, but I want to be there for my family. And no better way to start it off is in the morning.
Mm.
And people get up in the morning and they start off with the wrong narrative. They start up with the I got to do this. Well, today I've got to
Mm.
do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this instead of thinking about the narrative of I get to do this. And even take it a step farther. You could even say, well, I am blessed to do this, right? If you think about what we do in our lives, it doesn't matter how mundane the task or how small or what we've got in front of us. It's all a blessing. It's all incredible. The fact of the matter is we got up in the morning and we're still breathing.
Mm.
I saw the light of day. I'm
Mm.
here for another opportunity. I'm here for another day. And I guarantee, I think about like my mother. I lost my mother to cancer when she was 69. And all those little worries and all those little things and all those little things in her life that she had going on really didn't matter that much.
Mm.
Death is the great equalizer, right? And so for everything that we do in life, they're blessings. And so don't take your health for granted. Don't take your mindset for granted. Don't take what you're doing in life for granted. It's all just a bunch of blessings, regardless of how difficult those challenges might be.
I heard, I happened to come across a video of Gary Vee yesterday. I assume you know who Gary Vee
Of
is.
course,
If you
yes.
don't, yes, I'm anybody who's in the entrepreneurial space understands who Gary Vee is. But one of the most well-known social media slash entrepreneurs online, definitely. And he said two very basic lines that are so powerful. And what you just said made me think of this. He said, "You're not born very long and you're dead forever."
Mm.
So you have to decide what you're going to do with that little time frame that you have to be able to do something, because it's a very short time frame. And so many people think that that time frame is this long, and they take for granted that it's really only this long. If you actually look at it in the context of not only not only like the world, you look at it in the context of how long has the earth been around? How long has the universe been around? Like, to understand how such a small fragment of time a human life is, you can maybe start to then appreciate that. But here's what I hear from the detractors is, well, that's easy because you already have that mindset already, or it's easy because you have a positive way of thinking already. And so, how do you start to take just one step in a direction to say, I want to be able to get the best out of my life? Because my life is a big thing. It's a big
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? And it's very abstract, really, because what can your life actually be? It's like setting a big goal. And a big goal is very abstract to people. And I believe that that's why a lot of people fail, because they set this big, big goal, which is great. That's great. But it's a very weird idea for you because you've never been there. So where do you start to make that turn? How do you start to kind of take those steps to go in that direction?
Well, first thing you got is you got to identify your purpose. I mean, only 10% of people know what their purpose is, and only 5% are living a life based on that purpose,
Mm.
right? Most people get up, they're handcuffed to life. They're going to a job they don't want to be working. They're doing the things they don't want to be doing. They've got a house payment. They've got a car payment. They're in this trap and they feel like they're shackled, right? So if you're shackled and you feel like you can't break out of it, the mindset is going to suffer. It is going to struggle. It is going to be very hard to get out of that old and change that paradigm and get into the new because, if you're looking at where you're at and where you want to go, it seems like a huge gap, right? But the first thing you got to do is really sit down and identify what you want to be doing. The biggest thing that I always tell people is the thing that you don't want is you don't want to get to the end of that life and experience regret. Regret, sitting on that deathbed, thinking about the things that you wanted to do that you didn't, thinking about the risks that you wanted to take, but you did not. You do not want to be that. You want to be the person who's sitting on that deathbed, looking at your family members, the big smile on your face, going, if I wanted to try it, I did. If there was something I wanted in my life, I went after it. Not universal energy. It's not all about, I'm going to put this in the universe and it's going to come to me, because that's not how life works. It's part of how life works. It is good to put those things into the universe, but you got to work for them too. You got to be willing to do the work. The universe will set everything up for you, but if you're not willing to do the work and go down the path, you're never going to see it. So the first thing you got to do is step one, figure out that purpose, and then take a step back and go, okay, this is what I'm going to put out into the universe. What do I need to do? Even if it's slow, even if it's a slow grind to start working toward that purpose, just take step one. And then when you've got a pitfall or you flip your toe on a hurdle or whatever it might be willing to get right back up and go, okay, this is not going to detour me today. This is not going to take me out of my purpose today, because my purpose is too much, is too valuable to me, right? And you were talking about the shortness. I mean, we're a blip. We're a blip in time. I mean, if you think about how long this planet's been here, who knows about the universe, who knows about all these things, but we're just this microcosm of nothingness. And if you even break it down a little bit further and you think about your ancestors, do you know your great-grandfather's first name?
I do, only because it's my middle name.
What about your great-great-grandfather?
Nope, not a chance.
Not a chance, right?
Not a chance.
So think about all the people that came before you that made it possible for you to sit right in that chair behind that microphone. All the people
Pretty
that had to
incredible.
come before you, you don't even know their names.
Just three steps back.
Yeah, same with me. It is
Yep.
the same with me. It is tough because our lives in 100 years, somebody's going to be living in my house here. My car's not going to be existing. All my furniture, all my things, everything that I have is going to be sitting in some antique store, right? That somebody's going to be rummaging through, wondering if it looked good in their house. My ancestors or the people who are going to come after me are probably going to forget who I am at that point. As Macklemore says it, of all people to quote, but Macklemore in one of his songs, I think is glorious. He says, you die twice in life. It's the first time you physically die, and the second time is the last time somebody ever says your name. Right? And
That's powerful.
It is incredibly powerful. And there's going to come a time where each and every one of us is going to take our last breath. It's going to be the last time you see your kids. It's going to be the last time you've seen your spouse. It's going to be the last time you've seen the people around you. There's going to come that time, and it's going to come sooner than you think. That's why I say, man, if your mindset is to the point where you're sitting there going, I can't, or I don't want to, or it's not worth it, or I don't want to take the risk, and just think about how short life is, and don't get to the end of that journey and have that regret.
It's funny, the regrets that you listed, because there was a nursing study done some years ago. I forget, maybe a handful of years ago, and they asked people on their deathbed what are the main things that they regret. And one of the main things, it was like number 2 or 3, maybe even potentially number 1, was not taking enough risks. Was not taking enough risks, not taking more risks in life. And risk is all relative to the person, right? It's all relative. For some people, risk is pretty simple, not simple, but they can do it and it's not a big deal. For some people, risk is like going outside and saying hi to somebody as they walk by. But you have to start with some level You have to understand where your risk tolerance is, and then you have to take that step because, like you said, the worst idea that I have in life is standing and looking at the pearly gates and the gatekeeper playing a movie and he's telling me that it's supposed to be me in the movie and I'm going, "Nah, that's not me." And he goes, "No, that's just who you were supposed to be."
Hmm.
That idea right there is the thing that terrifies me. So,
And that's most people.
can you and how do you start? Well, I want to go back. I want to go back to purpose for a second because I love that. Another thing that you talked about in one of your videos was being your authentic self. Your unique self, I believe, maybe is the way that you put it in the video. One of the hardest things to overcome is the pull from society, the
Mm,
pull to conform, right? And that, if you look at society as a whole, it's a bell curve. Most people fit in the middle of the curve, they're conforming. And a lot of them are unhappy, unfit, unhealthy, unfulfilled. How do you start to look at somebody and go, "Hey, here's why you're unhappy, unfit, unfulfilled." And then how does that person start to overcome the pull to conform? Because that is hard because it's everybody around you, right? It's
sure.
your even the people that you believe care about you the most, your parents, potentially your spouse, your friends and family. They care about you. And the things that they say to you, they say because they do want what's best for you, but they want what's best through their lens,
Hmm.
through their
Yeah.
lens.
100%. And, people, that's our whole lives. All right.
Mm,
I mean, that's like when you're a kid. When you came into this earth, when you came into the planet and you're sitting there, it starts day one and it starts with your parents, right? And your parent, it's not uh, bad. It's not like they have bad intentions
mm,
when they're doing what they do, but they have an idea for you. They have a thought for you. They know what they know. They know what their journey was. They know what they've seen, but they don't have a perspective, usually a global perspective on everything. So then you go into school and they tell you how you should dress, where you should sit, how you should study, be here at this time, then go over here and be here at this time. And then you should do this and then you should do that. Hey, as a matter of fact, you should be listening to adults. Make sure that you're getting up and if an adult says something to you, you need to be respectful of that. And
respect.
you should be
Mhm.
respectful, but we got to sort out who we're listening to, right? When we start listening to other people more than we listen to what our heart tells us or what we think is best for ourselves, we're putting others before ourselves. And how are you going to be the best version of you if you say their opinion of me matters more than my opinion of me?
Mm,
Their thoughts of what I should do matter more than my thoughts of what I should be doing. That's where people need to break that narrative and say, no, no, listen, I'm not going to do that because so many people will tell you what you should do and how you should do it and what you should be. They'll constantly be telling you these things. They don't even know who you are. They don't know what drives you. They don't know what motivates you. They don't know what makes Jerry Jerry, right? And
mm.
so what do? Do you say, no, you, sure, I'll listen. I'd be happy. I'd love feedback. Feedback is a gift, but you got to be really good at sorting feedback into what you let in and what you filter out, right? You've been with yourself,
100%.
and I don't know how old you are. I'm 54. I've been with myself for 54 years. I know what my strengths are. I know what
Mm.
my weaknesses are. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And I'll be darned if somebody else is going to come in and say, hey, I just met you, or hey, I've known you for a couple of years now. This is what you should do, or this is what you should be. Why would I do that?
You know, there is a big difference between being respectful and respecting someone's opinion. There's a big difference between those two. Being respectful is understanding that all human beings they're worthy of your attention and worthy that they're a human being. I respect that you're a human being. I respect that you have an opinion, but I don't have to listen to the opinion. And it's so easy to get caught up, number one, as a kid,
Mhm.
to get caught up in the, hey, listen to what adults say. And then once you're an adult, to get caught up in the, hey, listen to what professionals say. And what I've fought my whole life is healthcare. Fought
Mm.
is maybe not the right term, but people listen to doctors like doctors have the say of anything and everything. It doesn't matter if the doctor is 50 pounds overweight on 3 medications, does not matter, but they will listen to what the doctor says about their health. So being able to sift through what someone is saying to you and being able to have a couple things that you go, okay, here's my checklist, if you will. This person's talking to me. Do they have this? Do they have this? Do they have this? And if they kind of have these things, then I'll pay more attention. What are some things that if you had a checklist of things that you thought about when you're trying to decide if I want to ingrain the opinion of this person, what are some things that you think about?
For me, I've got what I call my sacred check boxes, right? So when
Mhm.
I'm getting up, I've got 4 things that I design my life around. And they're things that are that I'm passionate about, things that mean a lot to me. They're things that I want to build my life around, that I like getting up and doing every single day. And so if somebody comes to me with something, whether it be a business opportunity, whether it be a piece of advice, whether it be a you should, or a you should look at this, or whatever it might be, if it doesn't check one of my boxes, I filter it straight out.
Mm.
Because I spent too much time in my young days as an entrepreneur looking at the next shiny thing. I was leading with profits instead of purpose. And when you start looking at profits versus what you really want to be doing, what you really want to be building around, yeah, you might make some money doing it. And we did really good with what we were doing. But at the same time, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And so what I tell people is, as you're going through those processes of what you want, figure out what's the most important to you, line those things up. And if something doesn't align with you, filter it out. Just say no to it. Be willing to walk away from it, because in the long run, it's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. It's going to slow you down. It's going to take you away from your purpose. It's going to take you away from what you really want to be doing.
So let's switch to adversity.
Mm,
Excuse me. And we've kind of we talked about it a little bit, but adversity is one thing that stops most people. Again, if you look at the curve, the bell curve, the people in the middle are the ones that gave up because of adversity. Usually.
mhm.
Your identity is built during adversity
Amen.
based on how you respond to it, or in most people's cases, react to it.
Mm-hmm.
So what does adversity look like to you, and how do you go about attacking it,
Well, listen,
not getting overwhelmed by it?
you're gonna get punched in the teeth, right? I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Nothing is going to ever be perfect, ever. And so every day you get up, there's going to be a little bit of something. There's going to be some adversity. And there's some of them might be large. You might hit some really big hurdles as you're going through your process. But it's the way that you take those hurdles. I mean, everybody comes up to me all the time. They go, Rodman, how have you been so successful at everything that you do? And I say, oh my God, are you kidding me? You haven't seen the failures.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen the things that didn't work. The reason I do so well at the things that I do now is because I failed so much, and I was not afraid to fail. I wasn't afraid of the adversity. I wasn't afraid to clip my toe on the hurdle and then get back up, get the learning out of it, find that learning moment so that you can get better the next time, or maybe you can avoid something the next time. But I'm going to tell you this, if you don't have adversity, if you're not failing at all, you're not taking enough risks. You're just not out there putting yourself out enough to really make a difference in what you want to be doing. You should be getting up every day and be clipping your toe. You should be getting up every day and failing, and not be afraid of it, not be afraid to confront it or see it or to talk about it. We've got a lot of things going on now that we're working through on a lot of our business things that still we're like, oh my gosh, that's not working. Why isn't that working?
Mm.
Instead of going, oh, well, we failed. Let's cash it in. Let's go home. Let's get our ball. Let's go home. It's not that. It's about saying, okay, how can we pivot? How can we optimize? How can we get better? But you got to look at it in terms of not getting a frown on your face every time you hit that obstacle, but going, okay, what does this mean? Where's the lesson? Where's the growth? And then get right back into it. And so many people, though, and sometimes it might be money. Some people, and that's why I tell people, you got to get your money right. So, some people might be 6 months in and they're not quite to where they want to be. And they go, well, I'm going to just hang it up. I don't have enough money to hold on. but then the opportunity for success is right around that next corner. And they just couldn't get around the next corner. So if you believe in what you're doing and you're moving in the right direction, make sure that you're able to financially sustain yourself so you can have those learning opportunities, so you can clip a few hurdles along the way and still be smiling and going, okay, that's okay. What's next?
Can you be successful without adversity?
Well, it's, every day you're going to have something. You know what I mean? There's not going to be anybody who's going to wake up, and it's never going to be, you can talk to, and you talk about the bell curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love the bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I always talk about the outlier mindset. And that's my new book I got coming out. How do you get outside of that bell curve? You want to be on the outer periphery. You don't want to be on that left side, because that's the guy. There is that part of the periphery too, of people who are struggling significantly. Then you've got everybody. You've got the 90%, 95% of people in life who are getting up, kind of doing the same thing. They're not successful. They're successful in their own way, but they might not be living a purpose-driven life. To be a true outlier, to be that guy who's outside of that bell curve, to be exceptional at what you do, you got to be aligned with that purpose. Because if you're not aligned with that purpose, you're just probably treading through life right now. You don't want to be exceptional, because what? I'm getting up. I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to get my bills paid. I'm just trying to get this. I'm just trying to get that. Where if you're really going to be exceptional, if you're going to be an outlier on that bell curve, you got to get the outlier mindset. And that outlier mindset is saying, I am different. And I'm glad I'm different. I am not going to be a part of that center of that bell curve, regardless. Those are the people who get to the end of the life and they don't have that regret sitting right there in front of them.
Here's more feedback that I hear in my brain. I'm busy. I got a lot of things. You started to hit on it there for a second. I'm busy. I got a lot of things going on. I don't know that I have time to sit here and even try and figure any of this out. I got a family to take care of. I got this to take care of. How do I walk away from a 9-to-5 job that I don't appreciate, that I don't like, that I don't care about, that I'm unfulfilled in? How do I do that when I know that I have all these other things to do? What's a step that somebody can take, or how do you start to change? I'm going to assume it is first you got to start to change your mindset about it. What's the step that someone can start to take to recognize that they can make a change without everything crumbling?
Number one, it's tough. It's not easy to be an outlier, right? Because you really have to get in and you got to be willing to do the work and whatever's necessary to be that person to thrive. It's not easy. And when I talk about this stuff, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, because it's a journey, but it's an important journey, right? So like I tell people all the time, step one, identify what's important to you. That's just step one. Doesn't mean you're doing anything else. You're still keeping that job. You're still doing these things that are going to sustain you and make you whole and make you be able to pay your bills and keep you going. But if you don't do that step one, if you don't know what that is, only 10% of people do. If you haven't done that work, then how are you going to start to get your mindset right? How are you going to start to really work on your body? How are you going to really start to work on your money? And then how are you really going to start building that life that you want to be building? So it starts with that purpose. Figure out what's important. Get your check boxes. Figure out, what do I want to be doing? For me, I love to travel. So I have a checkbox that says travel on it. I love to invest. So I've got that. I love to teach and I love to inspire. If somebody's coming to me with something and it's not checking one of those boxes for me, I'm saying no. So what do I have? What did that end up being for me? Well, I've got a private equity fund that invests in short-term vacation properties. So I get to travel all over the world, managing this fund, managing these properties. I absolutely adore it. I love it. It checks my boxes, right? I get to come on here with my books and such. I get to teach, and I hopefully get to get somebody a little bit of inspiration to go after their purpose and to be an outlier themselves. So for me, everything that I'm doing checks those boxes. And so what I would tell people is sit down and figure out what's important to you first. What do you want your life to look like? You got to get it up here. If you can't see it up here, how are you going to bring it into reality? Right? So step one is really having a heart to heart with yourself, figuring it out. What do I want my life to look like? What's important to me? Now, that's the easy part,
Mm,
but still only 10% have done it. Because next thing you got to do is you got to go on that journey, right?
mm,
You got to figure out, how am I going to bring this to life? Because I do still have those bills to pay, right? I still do have that family to take care of. So the second part of the journey is the toughest part of the journey, but it's the most important part. But that's why it's important. If you don't have the right mindset for it, you're done. If
mhm.
I'm getting up and telling myself, like you were saying, every reason why I can't do it, every reason why this can't be done, why it can't be accomplished, why I'm not smart enough, why I'm not good enough, why I'm not strong enough, why I'm not whatever enough, then that's going to be true. Whatever you tell yourself is going to be true. It's not going to be false, right?
That's so good.
So
Mhm,
you got to have that mindset right. And then physically, if I'm not feeling good in life, if I'm getting up and I just don't feel right, I feel tired, I feel exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, I can't sleep, I can't do these things. All that's going to do is set you back. That's just going to set you back. So you got to have that physical alignment too. And then the same thing with the money. Okay, great. I got my mindset right. I'm physically doing good. But then again, like I said, you get to that 6 month period
mhm.
and you just aren't quite bringing in the money that you thought. Start as a side hustle. I love side hustles. Figure out what you want. Do your side hustle at night and make that side hustle make you have to quit that job. That'll be a
You
glorious
have to
day when
quit
that
it. That's good.
happens. It'll be a glorious day.
Mhm. Make you have to quit it. I like that.
Make you have to quit it.
Rodman, this is a great conversation. Last thing I want to talk about is, excuse me, and we kind of hit on it when it comes to adversities. Problem solving is a skill.
Mhm.
Problem solving is a skill. And when it comes to all of these things that we're talking about, it requires problem solving. It requires sitting down and solving problems. Okay, if I want to be able to quit my job, what do I have to be able to make? Where do I have to be able to start? Where can I start to trim off? Where can I save? It requires you to sit down and actually solve problems. And I think that that's another reason why people have a hard time continuing to move forward is when that adversity that adversity shows up, they they haven't cultivated the skill of problem solving. I think that that's just a basic thing. That the basic thing that keeps them from doing that is the skill of solving problems. It seems so basic, it seems so simple. And I think part of the problem is we have Google. So, like with basic problems, you can Google how to solve basic problems. And what you don't understand is that by doing so, you're literally losing the ability to solve problems. So, how do you become a better problem solver so that you can overcome these things and figure this out along the way?
Well, I mean, being a problem solver isn't just about sitting down and solving problems. It's about looking at those obstacles we talked about
Mm,
and looking at, how do I overcome that? Problems come to us
mm,
every single day. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't even matter if you're on that outlier journey or not. A problem is always going to present itself every single day. Think about your days. There's always something that comes up, right? So it's just repetition. It's taking that problem and looking at it going, most people get problems and they go, I quit.
mm,
I don't want to deal with that. I can't handle that. I can't, whatever. I can't. But if you're going to be really good at problem solving, you got to start getting into that I can mentality. I can do this. Okay, I can get through this. Okay, I can figure this out. Okay, I can learn from this. I can move myself forward. Because people who get stuck usually get those problems into their life and they just can't move. They can't move forward. They get paralyzed, right? Or they'll get analysis paralysis where it's like overthinking it, or I want to be perfect. I want this to be perfect. Life is not perfect. And I'm a perfectionist. It's tough to get up and not be perfect. I hate it,
mm.
but it's a part of who we are and how we grow and how we do things. And if you can do that, you're going to be an effective problem solver. But if you're in the I can't or I won't, or I don't want to mode, you're going to be dead at square one.
Hmm. That is square one. There's so much truth to that. What's one thing you want to leave with everybody?
Hmm. Don't get to your end of your life and have regret.
Hmm.
I mean, so many people are doing things in life they don't want to be doing every single day, on and on and on, and they are shackled. And I get it. But for them, I'd say, you know what? Really sit down and analyze, take a look at who you are and what you want to put into the world, and know that it's going to go by like this. I mean, I'm 54 now, but I mean, I was 21 yesterday. I was holding my kids in my in one arm
Yeah.
yesterday, and now they're going to college. And make sure that you know that number one, time is not a renewable resource. When that moment ticks off that clock for you, it is gone forever. You're never, ever going to get it back. So get up today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait for next week. Don't wait for next year. Quit waiting. My grandfather used to work his fingers to the bone. And he used to always tell me, it's like, I can't wait to start go fishing again. I can't wait to start golfing again. I can't. And he said that until the day he died. And those I can't waits always waited. And what I'm going to just say is don't be that person. Be the person who gets up every single day, knows exactly what they want, knows exactly what their life should look like, and then chase it and chase it and do everything that you can. Do the work necessary to be an outlier, to be an exceptional human being on this planet. It's short. It'll be gone tomorrow.
You guys, it is short. Do not wait. I'm gonna make that a billboard, I think. Um, don't wait. Where do people find you, Rodman?
People can find me at my website, gorodman.com. Is a good place to find me. If you want to hook up with me on social media, reach out to me. My handles on social media is at gorodman. Really easy to find. I love talking with people. I love the questions. I love working with people. It really fills me up inside to be able to help people on this journey. So by all means, reach out to me.
Very nice. And you said you have a book coming out, Outlier. What's the name of the book?
The Outlier Mindset is coming out on April 30th, or excuse me.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right, April 30th. So
Not too
keep an eye
far.
out for that. It's a great book. It'll really help you on this journey too, to really identify the things that you should be doing to have a really full, purpose-driven life by your design, not by anybody else's design, by your design.
Very good. Rodman, appreciate your wisdom. Good stuff today. You guys don't quit. Thank you so much for joining us, Rodman. That's great stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.